here to address any questions that the press may have with reference not only to the shooting that occurred in West Philadelphia, but also with reference to the arrests that have been made in connection with some of the protests and unrest that occurred after that shooting. I can tell you, first of all, with reference to the killing of Walter Wallace Jr., that is a very active investigation in early stages. It began as soon as we received notification. Part of our office's duty is to investigate and to do so independently officer-involved shootings. That's what we are doing. We were on the scene in less than an hour after notification, and there were representatives of this office out there and out in that community as late as 4 o'clock in the morning yesterday. A good part of the day has been dedicated to reviewing the limited information that we have at this time. This is not only a matter that is being carefully considered by the head of our Special Investigations Unit and the assigned prosecutor, it's a matter that I am looking at personally and carefully. This office has made clear that we believe in fairness, we believe in even-handed justice. We are not out to cover for anybody, and we are not out to get anybody. And what that, of course, means is that we have to get all of the information, consider it carefully, find the facts, consider the law, go wherever they lead us, regardless of who it makes happy, who it makes sad, or what the politics are around that. I think this office has made clear with our lengthy investigation of Officer Eric Rook and his killing of Dennis Plowden, which occurred December 27th, 2017, but did result in homicide charges against former Officer Rook, who was actually fired, so he was a former officer. I think we made it clear that we take this obligation seriously and we take the time that is necessary. I think we've also made it clear in relation to the killing of David Jones and our charging of Officer Pownell, in relation to the charging of Inspector Holmes for multiple sexual assaults, and in the charging of Detective Philip Norda for a series of sexual assaults against informants involved in homicide investigations, that we will go where we have to go. The other side of that is there have been many shootings of civilians by police, but we have reviewed the evidence carefully and we have determined that it does not support criminal charges, and in those cases we have declined to bring those criminal charges. With reference to the arrests that occurred last night after the shooting, primarily in the area of the 52nd Street business corridor, I can tell you that information from those arrests is starting to come in. I know that the commissioner, the police commissioner, earlier today said that there were 91 people arrested. The way the process goes is that they gather information, they recommend charges, they send it to us. We are the ones who make determinations about the charges, and especially at a moment when a lot of arrests are made, sometimes it is more difficult for all of the information to come through quickly. So as a consequence, we have gotten some of them, but not all of them yet, and we are waiting for more information on these cases. We have processed 27 cases that are being charged as second-degree felony burglaries. These are commercial burglaries in which the people charged are accused of having gone into commercial establishments to take things. Among the locations involved are 1575 North 52nd Street, which is a Rainbow store. 7702 City Avenue, there is a Snipes sneaker store. We have seen 76, we understand there are 76 burglaries in the pipeline. We also understand 3 of those arrests involve a gun. But as I said, it is a process. The information comes through to us, we examine it, we bring charges, and then there are recommendations made on bail, and there are bail hearings. We are in that process. We expect it will take significant additional time. We are expecting to see 11 cases in which the police will present information to us about an assault on law enforcement. We have not seen it yet, and when we see that, we always do carefully examine and bring the appropriate charges. Are there any questions?
Yes, sir. Mr. Krasner, do you have any understanding as to why tasers were not being used at this location by police?
It seems to me that is a question more for the commissioner, but I will say this also, we're very early in the investigation. I think your question correctly states that tasers were not used, but as for exactly why, I cannot answer that question.
Do you know what prompted the shooting? Did he lunge at the officers, or were there any commands? Like, what made the officers pull the trigger?
So I think the best way to answer that is that there is a widely circulated social media video of the incident that certainly contains useful information and some of the story. There has already been reporting in the Inquirer having to do with the family having made essentially a medical call in relation to Walter Wallace, and instead having a response that was police as opposed to an ambulance, as opposed to medical services. None of that information is inconsistent with what we have. It's all consistent with what we have, but it's way too early for me to speculate on what was going through the minds of the officers at the moment when they fired their shots.
Can you give a personal?
You have body cam footage.
I'm sorry?
You have body cam footage.
We have received some body cam footage. One of the good things going on in this police department is that its use is more and more widespread. We do not have all the body cam footage that we need, but we are considering what we have and trying to obtain more, so we can consider that as well.
What did you think when you saw the widely released video?
When I saw the widely released video, I thought it was concerning. I would have to agree with both the police commissioner and the mayor that it presents some very serious questions that need to be answered. For anyone who has seen it, obviously it's a little shaky, and there are some moments when the social media video is not as clear as we hope the body cam video will be. But that's part of our task. Part of our task is to make sure we don't just have some of the information, we have all of it. We don't just have some of the video, we have all of it. And we consider it very, very carefully in making our decisions.
Did you review the moment that officers opened fire on the body cam footage? Have you seen that part yet?
I have seen it in the social media, and we are considering we have seen it in the social media, and we are considering all the body cam video that comes in. I'd say it's premature to comment on it because we don't have all the body cam video yet.
What have your conversations been with the mayor and the police commissioner? Anything about de-escalation or training at this point?
We haven't spoken about this yet. We've had a lot of conversations with the police about other issues that were going on last night, and also with reference to election preparation. But I haven't had the opportunity to speak in detail to the police commissioner about this incident.
What about the officers involved? Are they looking at...
Yes, sir.
Yes. I couldn't hear. Was there any updates regarding the officers and their positions, or their badges being taken away? I couldn't hear if you said that.
No, I didn't address that, and the truth is I don't know. All of that is within the control of the police commissioner, and of course, everything that comes after that. But the police commissioner is the one who has some power to discipline, to suspend,
As you stated,
to fire.
that might happen.
I'm not aware of her stating that, no.
What about...
President City Dreams Coalition. Now, as of where we were called out once again to hit the streets with our outreach teams, a lot of us as leaders, including myself, on our knees, still got beat up. One of my community partners, Tommy Blackwell, beat up to the point he can't walk. And he's a teacher and a community leader, working with Inspector Woods as we do in West Philadelphia. Myself, on my knees, stopping a whole big raid. The cops seen me do it, but got them to put the bags down. And they started charging anyways, after they were even leaving. I got on my knees with my son, put my son's head on my lap, and they still beat me with bags. How do we stop it? There's plenty of good cops out here, but there's so many bad ones that I'm ready to say F the blue. And I got plenty of good friends in blue. But all the bad ones make it, I don't want to be bothered with them or to help the communities no more.
Let me say this to you. First of all, I hear what you are saying, and I apologize to you for any violence that may have been inflicted on you by law enforcement.
I appreciate it.
If you have specifics that you would like to report to our special investigation unit, Chief Mark Stewart is right there. He can connect you with the people who need to hear that information. We'd be glad to take it. On the broader question of how do we deal with this, we are in a moment of criminal justice reform in the United States. We are in a moment when everyone wants the system to be better. They want there to be appropriate, fair, even-handed police accountability. How do we do it? The first thing we do is vote. And I say that because it matters who our leaders are, both in DC and here. And I say it also because we actually have some things on the ballot this year that apply directly to issues of police accountability and criminal justice reform. We have matters relating to stop and frisk. We have something relating to the Police Oversight Commission. We have an opportunity right now to march. We can march and we can protest peacefully and express ourselves, whatever those opinions may be, and we can also march into a voting booth on election day, or we can take our mail-in ballot and march to one of the locations all around the city where our vote can be counted. We are at a moment when we are in the tens of millions of votes that have already been counted. This may be the highest voter turnout in the history of the United States, happening during a pandemic. This is something constructive that we can do, and we can get other people to come out day after day after day in this one remaining week to make sure that the things that we dream about, like criminal justice reform, like even-handed treatment of a case like this, like police oversight and appropriate forms of accountability, actually happen. We just have to get out and
On
do it.
behalf of City of Dreams and BBC, partner of BBC with the guns down, we invite you to come out and hit the doors of us. What we do. It's called Block by Block. We actually knock on doors, real resources that really impact the community, the jobs, and other things.
Well, my head of community outreach will be happy to talk about that.
So given the amount of video that is out there, or the video that's out there now,
I'm sorry, Mike.
given the video that we've all seen, and then the body cam video that you've seen, is there anything that you see that could potentially indicate the possibility of a charge of these officers? Is there any moment, is there anything that you saw as a defense attorney, as a prosecutor that you saw?
As much as I would love to answer that question, I think it's preliminary and it is a little inappropriate. I got elected with the idea I would actually look at everything and try to be careful about it and not just shade this for public opinion one way or the other. There will come a time to answer that question. We have answered it in ways that police officers found very agreeable at times, and we have answered it in ways that officers, or in his case ex-officer Ruth, did not find so agreeable. So I would just ask everyone to show us a little patience as we try to get to the bottom of exactly what happened and what it means in terms of the law.
Did you say you don't have all the body camera footage yet?
We have not received all of the cameras yet.
How is that?
That's common. It's really quite common that the discovery tends to trickle in, and especially when you're looking for several people's cameras. It matters. There have been some reports in the press that police were at that house or dealing with that family on more than one occasion that day. We want to make sure we know everything before we start to make statements.
Will you release the footage?
Will I release the footage? It is my hope that at the appropriate time this footage will be released. I don't know whether it will be the Philadelphia Police Department, will be the mayor, or it will be my office. I think that's a matter that all of us should discuss. But it is my hope that it will be released. It will be out there so that we have the transparency that is necessary.
When will your office interview the officers involved in the shooting?
We are always ready, willing, and able to interview people who have been involved in a serious incident. We will be happy to do so. That, however, will be up to them and their attorneys whether they wish to take that opportunity.
Have you spoken to the Wallace
For
family?
27 people charged with the felony burglaries with the looting, do you know what type of repercussions they face? Is it jail time or other time that you might recommend?
So, your question is about the commercial burglaries that occurred in and around or nearby the 52nd Street corridor last night. In general, the maximum sentence for an F2 burglary alone is 5 to 10 years. That is very uncommonly the result, but it is a possible result for someone whose conduct is extreme or who has a long criminal record. I don't think we'll have any more specifics on those cases until we have all the discovery, know the complete criminal records on the people who are involved, if they have criminal records at all, and then we'll be in a better position to judge that.
Mr. Krasner, when do you think you might have preliminary findings in the police shooting investigation?
Mr. Cuellar, just 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay. I'm sorry.
Does your office intend to prosecute polluters this time?
I'm not sure why you're saying this time. We're prosecuting people who were charged with burglary and criminal trespass in the days following the death of George Floyd. Those cases are still pending and are in a posture to go to court. Obviously, the courts are not moving as quickly as they used to. In fact, there has not been a misdemeanor trial in Philly in over 6 months. But those are being prosecuted. These are being prosecuted. That prosecution may take many different directions, as all cases do. Some of them result in convictions, some of them result in trials, some in guilty pleas, some get diverted, some get dropped for reasons, but they are being prosecuted. Yes, Mr. Gray.
When do you hope to have preliminary findings in the investigation of the police shooting of Walter Wallace?
We hope to know a lot more as soon as possible. There are different routes an investigation may go. Sometimes these investigations go to a determination to decline. In other words, the evidence is taken altogether. We make a determination that there's not enough evidence of a crime. There may or may not be evidence of a lack of training. There may or may not be evidence of discipline or reason for firing, but that's not our department. Our department is into crime. Sometimes what we do is we make a decision to charge, and we're able to go ahead directly. And sometimes what we have done is we have gone to a grand jury, and we have had to present it over a period of months to a grand jury. The case involving ex-officer Rook went through a grand jury process. The case that involved Poundoff, that also went through a grand jury process. So we have not made any of those determinations yet. We won't be able to make it until we have a closer look at all of the information.
Have you spoken to the Wallace family?
I'm sorry?
Have you spoken to the Wallace family?
I have not had an opportunity to speak to the Wallace family yet, although after I leave here, I'll be heading to West Philadelphia for a community event that is about the shooting. I do not know whether the family will be attending, but it has been organized by clergy up there who've been very active, and I'm hopeful that when the family is ready to talk to us, they understand that we will be ready to talk to them.
You talked about the charges. Any message that people may consider continuing?
I'm sorry, it's not exhausting.
Let's say you talked about the charges for the commercial burglaries. Any message to the people who might be considering to continue that activity later on this evening?
My message to people who want the world to be a better place is let us get out there and peacefully express ourselves. Let us peacefully protest, as has been done in a non-violent way historically and has resulted in great improvements in this country. What we cannot do is get involved in violence and criminal destruction. Honestly, it is not missed by me that many of the businesses owned on that 52nd Street corridor are owned by African Americans, and that it is not good for the city, nor is it good for dealing with the issues that are so wrong in relation to the killing of Mr. Wallace. It is not a good thing to tear up that commercial corridor in that area. It's not what we should want. So I would ask everybody, let us do what is constructive. Let us uphold rights for people to peacefully express themselves. Let us avoid and reject violence of all types. And one of the best ways I know to do that is to vote. So thank you all. I got to get to this event in West Philly.
Declaraciones en español breve